news. The BBC has published its annual report today, revealing their biggest earners.
And it is Gary Lineker, once again the broadcaster's best paid presenter, taking home over a whopping £1.35 million each year.
But of course, the BBC's finances have taken a hit. 500,000 households cancelled their licence fee last year as the broadcaster struggles to keep younger audiences.
500,000 in just 1 year. Wow. Former BBC Head of Religion and Ethics, Akhil Ahmed, joins us now. Akhil, thank you very much indeed for joining us. Let's start with that 500,000 fewer people taking out licences. That's pretty stark.
It is. I have to say I'm speaking here in a personal capacity, but actually you're right. Actually, the figures have been going down for quite some time across all broadcasters, to be fair, in terms of their appeal to younger audiences. But with regards to the licence fee, I think nobody in the BBC is unaware of this. It's been going on for a few years now, and you can start looking at whether or not the cuts that have been made effectively in real terms to actually what the licence fee is, because it's been cut at a long point. It's not been able to increase for a number of years. Plus, they're not able to borrow against it, etc. You're seeing the effects because there's not as many new programmes as you would have seen in the past over the last few years. And if you look across all broadcasters, they're all struggling. And the fact of the matter is, anybody who know anybody under the age of 30 knows that the brand loyalty to anybody these days, particularly in broadcasting, is gone. Streaming is what it's all about for many people these days. They don't really care about terrestrial television. And I think that's a bit of a shame, because obviously that curation means we have shared viewing, we have shared moments, whether it be strictly football, sports, the Olympics. And I think the 500,000, losing that kind of figure, you've got to ask yourself some serious questions about how do you resolve that, which I know they're trying to, but are they getting it right, I suppose?
Well, isn't one of the obvious answers here to stop treating it like a tax? And instead, there are many young people who happily pay a subscription to Netflix. There are many people who happily sign up to GB News membership if they want extra content online. There are lots of people who sign up to Disney Plus, to Amazon as well. Why doesn't the BBC simply treat itself more like one of these membership or subscription services that then young people are so used to using on their computers, even if they don't have a TV in their flat?
No, listen, I've got a lot of sympathy for that. I think that the licence fee as we know it today is a difficult thing to kind of... It's difficult to kind of sell it to many people. The fact of the matter is, it's not all just young people as well, remember. There are other people who are watching, who are getting a lot from the BBC, depending on where your age is, where you live in the country, etc. So it's a bit more complicated than just focusing on young people. But I completely understand the argument and agree with you, which is people approach things very differently now than they have done in the past. And even when we look at migration, we look at lots of different things, not just young people. They may look at the BBC and they may look at all terrestrial broadcasters for that matter, and they say, what's in it for me? And remember as well, it's not the BBC's money as such, it's a licence fee to watch live transmitted programming, which the BBC is able to collect and spend. So it's not just for the BBC, it's for lots of other things. What they've got to do is actually, what everybody's got to do is figure out a way of making it so that things work. The whole of the broadcasting ecology is in a mess right now. We talk about streamers, but they're not making much money. You must remember that. A lot of them are actually losing money. Apple have announced in the last few days they're going to be spending less money because they're not getting the viewers. Netflix, Amazon, all these people have not made profit for many, many years.
Yeah, it's certainly a tricky environment.
The broadcasting model is broken, and that's the big issue.
Yeah, it's certainly a tricky environment for all broadcasters, I'm sure. But just about Gary Lineker, I mean, does he really deserve 1.35 million? We're hearing that 500 full-time roles are going to be scrapped in the next 2 years. 1.35 million just for Gary?
Well, I mean, it's a difficult one, this, because obviously we know that there are more. We don't know what some other people are paid because they're paid by independent production companies, so it doesn't register. Whereas Gary Lineker is paid directly by the corporation. The question we have to ask ourselves is, in the open market, do we think Gary Lineker is worth a lot more than that? It's all these things are completely subjective. I reckon he is, to be honest with you. I think he's a big draw. I think if you went down that list, and I'm not going to give you the names if you ask me, but if you go down that list, I think there are people on there that you ask yourself, on the open market, would they get snapped up as quickly as you think they are? Gary's not one of those. I think he would get snapped up. You look at the dearth of sports broadcasting around all the different broadcasters, he's not a bad shout, isn't he? He's pretty good.
That's a really good game to play, actually. Would Amazon pay them double what they're paid by the BBC? I mean, to be honest, probably they would pay that to Gary Lineker.
Yeah, that's fine, as long as you're not a champagne socialist, Tom. That's what's annoying, isn't it? That's what we all find annoying.
I mean, would Amazon pay that much to Zoe Ball?
I have no idea.
I'm just putting the question there. Anyway, thank you so much, Akil Ahmed, former BBC Head of Religion and Ethics. Really appreciate your time and your thoughts.
And speaking in a personal capacity, of course. Thank you very much. I think that is what annoys me, because it's not that he's paid this much money, which, OK, is irritating because we all pay for it, we all fund it, but it's because he's always, you know, being all grandstanding about morals and all of that.
And it's, in some ways, I can appreciate people who leave the BBC, go and work somewhere independent.
Spread their wings.
And then they can have opinions. That's fine.
Yeah.
That's the beauty of a pluralist media landscape. Absolutely. But while you're at the BBC, just doesn't sit right.
Just doesn't sit